The spiritual technology of remembrance. Assalamu alaikum, and welcome back to Sufi Essence with Hammad Syed. We live in an age defined by its unceasing mental and spiritual noise. The modern mind is constantly bombarded with information, with distractions, with anxieties that pull the heart in 1,000 different directions. This spiritual state of distraction and forgetfulness is known as Ghafla. It is the root of all spiritual disease. For to forget our Creator is to forget our own reality and our own purpose. The spiritual path is, in its essence, a path of awakening from this Ghafla. And the single most powerful and effective tool for this awakening is the sacred practice of Dhikr, the remembrance of Allah. Dhikr is more than a simple prayer. 'Tis the spiritual technology of Sufism, a direct and profound method for purifying the heart and silencing the ego. It is the practical living application of the spiritual psychology we discussed in our last talk on Nafs. If the heart is the mirror of the divine, as we learned, then Dhikr is the polish that removes the dust and rust of the world. It is a direct command from the Quran, for Allah says, "O you who have believed, remember Allah with much remembrance." Quran 33-41. The spiritual journey is a journey of remembrance, and Dhikr is the vehicle that carries the seeker on that journey, from a state of forgetfulness to a state of living, breathing presence. Part 1. The philosophy of Dhikr. At its core, Dhikr is the direct and perfect opposite of Ghafla. Ghafla is the state of the heedless, a state of spiritual slumber, where the human being acts without awareness, moved only by the desires of the Nafs. Dhikr is a deliberate, conscious act of turning the mind and heart back toward Allah. It is a constant spiritual effort to remain present and connected, to counteract the forces of distraction that pull us away from our Lord. For a heart that is not in a continuous state of Dhikr, it is inevitably in a state of Ghafla. The path of Tasawwuf is the path of a progressive spiritual move from a state of Ghafla to a state of a profound spiritual awareness. The practice of Dhikr is grounded in the profound spiritual wisdom of the Quran. Allah has commanded us in multiple verses to remember Him, telling us that the remembrance of Allah is the greatest. Quran 29-45. This is a direct command to engage in this practice, not just as a ritual, but as a lifestyle. The Quran tells us that in the remembrance of Allah, hearts find their tranquility. Quran 13:28, and this is the spiritual promise of Dhikr, to bring inner peace and stability to a heart that is a restless spiritual sea. The spiritual goal is to remember Allah in every single moment, whether standing, sitting, or lying down, so that the spiritual light of Dhikr permeates every aspect of our lives. Central to the practice of Dhikr is the repetition of the divine names, and no name is more central than the name Allah in Sufi thought. The name Allah is known as the Ism al-Dat, the name of the essence. It is considered the one name that contains and encompasses all of the other 99 beautiful names of Allah, the Asma al-Husna. To remember the name Allah is to remember His existence, His power, His mercy, His justice, and all of His divine attributes in a single spiritual and verbal act. The repetition of this sacred name is not a simple verbal exercise. It is a spiritual practice designed to awaken the heart to the all-encompassing reality of its Creator. The name Allah is also known as the Nafs al-Jalala, the name of majesty. Its very pronunciation, in its cadence and its vibration, is believed to have a profound spiritual effect on the human being. When pronounced with full presence and an unwavering spiritual intention, it vibrates within the body, resonates in the spiritual heart, and begins to polish the mirror of the Qalb. This is why the invocation, Allah, Ra, is the most fundamental and universal form of Dhikr in many Sufi orders. It is the single word that is able to carry the seeker's profound spiritual attention back to the source, to the unity, and to the eternal. Part 2. The practice of Dhikr. The spiritual practice of Dhikr is a diverse spiritual technology with many forms, each suited to different spiritual stages and spiritual temperaments. The two most common and effective forms are silent remembrance and vocal remembrance. Dhikr Kafi, or silent remembrance, is the Dhikr of the heart. In this practice, the seeker remembers Allah with the heart, without moving the tongue or making a sound. The spiritual focus is on the Qalb, and the remembrance becomes an inner pulsation, a continuous spiritual movement that eventually becomes the natural state of the heart. This dhikr is often seen as more advanced, as it requires a greater degree of spiritual control and spiritual presence, and it is a powerful spiritual tool for purifying the inner world. The other primary form is dhikr jari, or vocal remembrance. This is a communal practice, often done in a halaqa, or a spiritual gathering. The seekers sit in a circle and remember Allah out loud, sometimes in rhythm and with a profound spiritual breath. This form of dhikr has a powerful spiritual effect on both the individual and the group, as the collective spiritual energy magnifies the spiritual experience. The vocal dhikr is a powerful antidote to the nafs, as the physical act of speaking the name of Allah helps to quiet the ego and to focus the mind. The spiritual vibration of the communal dhikr creates a field of spiritual energy that is so powerful that it has the power to transform a human heart from a state of forgetfulness to a state of presence. The spiritual journey of dhikr is a progression, starting with the tongue, moving to the heart, and finally becoming the state of the soul. Initially, the seeker remembers Allah with the tongue, repeating the divine names and formulas out loud or silently. This is the dhikr of the tongue, and it is the necessary first step to train the mind and the body. Over time, as the practice becomes more consistent and focused, the dhikr moves to the heart. The seeker finds the remembrance becoming an automatic, effortless pulsation in the heart, even when the tongue is engaged in other activities. This is the dhikr of the heart, and it is a state of spiritual presence that is so powerful that it has the power to transform a human heart from a state of forgetfulness to a state of presence. The ultimate spiritual state is the dhikr of the soul, where the remembrance of Allah becomes the very essence of the human being. The seeker is in a constant state of remembrance, a state that is so profound that it has the power to transform a human heart from a state of forgetfulness to a state of presence. The ruh of the soul remembers its Lord in every single moment, whether in a state of wakefulness or a state of sleep. And this spiritual state is a spiritual state of a profound and an intimate spiritual communion with our Creator. This is the goal of the spiritual journey, a goal that is so profound and beautiful that it has the power to transform a human heart from a state of forgetfulness to a state of a profound spiritual certainty. Part 3. The spiritual effects of dhikr. The effects of dhikr on the human psyche and the human spirit are numerous and transformative. In an age of anxiety and mental clutter, dhikr is a direct antidote. By focusing the mind on a single, sacred reality, it helps to quiet the incessant noise of a profound and a beautiful spiritual thought, and to bring the human heart into a state of sukoon, or tranquility. Sukoon is a spiritual state of inner peace and a profound spiritual stillness that is so powerful that it has the power to transform a human heart from a state of a profound and a spiritual forgetfulness to a state of a profound and a beautiful spiritual presence. Dhikr is the spiritual medicine for a restless heart, for it is in the remembrance of Allah that the heart finds its ultimate spiritual rest. Dhikr is also the primary spiritual tool for the purification of the heart. The Qalb. We learned that the Qalb is a mirror that becomes clouded by the dust of the nafs's passions and desires. Dhikr is the polish that removes this dust. With every single repetition of the divine names, the spiritual light of dhikr illuminates the heart and purifies it of its spiritual diseases. Dhikr weakens the hold of vices like pride, envy, and greed, and it strengthens the spiritual virtues of a profound spiritual humility, a profound spiritual compassion, and a profound spiritual gratitude. The spiritual journey of a human being is a journey of a profound spiritual purification, a journey that has the power to transform a human heart from a state of a profound spiritual forgetfulness to a state of a profound and a beautiful spiritual presence. Furthermore, dhikr is the most effective way to overcome the lower nafs. The nafs in its raw state. Nafs al-amara is a spiritual force that rebels and commands evil. Dhikr is a deliberate, conscious act of obedience to Allah. By constantly and consistently engaging in this spiritual practice, the seeker trains the nafs into submission, moving it from its rebellious state to its peaceful state, nafs al-mutma'inna. The constant repetition of the name of Allah is like a spiritual sword that cuts through the whispers of the ego and weakens its hold on the human being. The spiritual journey of a human being is a journey of a profound spiritual purification, a journey that has the power to transform a human heart from a state of a profound and a spiritual forgetfulness to a state of a profound and a beautiful spiritual presence. The ultimate and most profound spiritual effect of Dhikr is its ability to lead the seeker to the states of Fana and Baqa through constant and relentless remembrance. The ego's sense of a separate spiritual existence begins to dissolve. The seeker is in a spiritual state of a profound and a beautiful spiritual communion with the divine. A spiritual state that is so powerful that it has the power to transform a human heart from a state of a profound and a spiritual forgetfulness to a state of a profound and a beautiful spiritual certainty. This spiritual state is the spiritual state of Fana, or annihilation. In this spiritual state, the seeker's profound and spiritual experience of Allah's absolute oneness is so powerful that their own spiritual existence vanishes from their spiritual sight. This spiritual state is a spiritual state of a profound and an intimate spiritual communion with the divine. A spiritual communion that is so powerful that it has the power to transform a human heart from a state of a profound and a spiritual forgetfulness to a state of a profound and a beautiful spiritual presence. Conclusion. The spiritual technology of Dhikr is the most essential practice for the spiritual seeker. It is the bridge between a profound and a beautiful spiritual faith and a profound and a beautiful spiritual experience, between theory and reality. It is not just a ritual to be performed a few times a day. It is a living relationship, continuous state of a profound and a beautiful spiritual presence that is so powerful that it has the power to transform a human heart from a state of a profound and a spiritual forgetfulness to a state of a profound and a beautiful spiritual certainty. Dhikr is the spiritual technology that transforms the human being from a state of a profound and a spiritual forgetfulness to a state of a profound and a beautiful spiritual presence. It is the spiritual medicine for a restless heart, the spiritual compass for a lost mind, and the spiritual vehicle that carries the soul to its ultimate spiritual destination. I invite you all to make Dhikr the constant spiritual companion of your heart. Begin by remembering Allah with your tongue, then let the remembrance descend into your heart. Do not be discouraged by a profound and a beautiful spiritual forgetfulness. For every time you remember Allah, you are receiving a profound and a beautiful spiritual mercy from Him. Dhikr is the spiritual technology for navigating the noise and the chaos of the modern world, a technology that is so powerful that it has the power to transform a human heart from a state of a profound and a spiritual forgetfulness to a state of a profound and a beautiful spiritual presence. Join us next time on Sufi Essence as we delve into another profound aspect of our faith.